I'm Brian Freiberger, editor with the Leelanau Enterprise, and thank you for checking us out today. Today, my guest is Matthew DenOtter, who is running for Michigan's first congressional district as a Republican. DenOtter is squaring off against incumbent Jack Bergman and candidate Justin Michal. And on the Democratic side, Wayne Stiles is squaring off against Kyle Bloomquist and Kelly Barr. I do plan on interviewing all candidates, so please feel free to follow along to each episode and like and subscribe to us on social media. So awesome, Matt. Here we are again. Here we are for a race here. I know it's
Yeah.
my first time talking to you, so it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. And I guess just give you a few minutes just to kind of introduce yourself, who you're from. I know you're from the Grand Rapids area, that sort of thing, right?
Yep. I was born in Grand Rapids. I went to Calvin Seminary. After I went to Calvin College, I started my healthcare career, which is for 25 years. I've been in the healthcare industry. And that's where they moved me up to AstraZeneca, actually moved me up to Harvey, Marquette area. So I got to live in the UP and buy a home and put roots there. So what's nice about that is now that I own a home here in Boyne, I get roots in both spots so that I'm being accepted by both the voters, the constituents in the UP and in Northern Michigan. Just because it's more of a fact that I know the area, I know their needs, and I care about it. And that's why I'm running.
Yeah, yeah. And I know just a few days ago, just when I was kind of looking you up, you just signed the term limits pledge, just a few days ago, correct? I guess if you could just
Mhm.
explain what that is and why were you the
Yeah,
first one to kind of sign it in our cycle here?
I'm self-funding. So that's really what it comes down to is I don't have to take money from PACs. I think that term limits honestly end corruption with PACs. I think it's a good thing, honestly. And I also think it's nice that when you get somebody in there, as far as the pledge, you want somebody that's going to run, but they're going to go as a job. It's not going to be their focus. So they have outcomes that they're trying to achieve, goals. And that's really how I want to run this district is using my business background and applying it to politics. Because I don't see myself as a politician. I see myself as a businessman and I look at the voters as customers that I want to listen to them and they're the boss. So that I'm really following that. So how that really leads to my view of politics is that I believe it should be top up leadership, not top down, or bottom up, I should say. I want to phrase that, but leadership from the bottom really means local. That means you're ending those silos with the local politicians and you're actually in communication on those issues that really need to be met. So jobs, healthcare, these are the things that are really been left behind in this area. And since I have 25 years of healthcare experience, I want to use that and use that for the appropriation side with how we're bringing the money, but to also help with projects to help hospitals open, not close. Especially in the UP, you saw that Ontonagon lost its hospital, and Wisconsin's thriving. And that's really because Eagle River's stopping that tourism from coming to the Western UP. So it's getting a candidate that understands the issues and how to really direct tourism up there in the appropriate way with the trails so that you're getting those destination to destination because that's what the snowmobilers really want. I was in the Hiawatha Land Snowmobile Club when I was lived up in the Upper Peninsula. So I really know that area and I've traversed the entire UP. It was my sales territory. So I know it very well, but it's a gold mine. There's opportunity and it doesn't need to, you can actually do things like with the Porcupine Mountains where you're like looking at making that national lake shore. It's just to get the revenue and the camping stays from 2.5 days to 14. But think of all that revenue we can generate. That's a lot of revenue for the local community, which helps those businesses, and then it helps those reasons to put that hospital back in Ontonagon. So you're working together all throughout the district, not just in one area, because it's 36 counties. We've got needs in Leelanau, just like you have, where they're talking about a solar farm they're going to put up there that I would not really want. If it was up to me, I would not want that. That I think there's danger because with these new green things, we really need to look at what do they do to the environment because we want to protect this place. We have glacier water. It's old. It can't be replaced. The Great Lakes need to be protected. So that's a primary thing for me. So if we're looking at leaching into the soil or data centers that they don't know that might contaminate the water, all these things I want to approach like a provider would, where you're letting others use them first to see you get clinical experience or say your real world outcome experience, and then make sure that we know that those things are safe before we apply them here. that's the kind of mentality that I have as a politician, but I'm not a politician, I'm a businessman because that's how I function in my business. And that's where I treat people better than things. I say invest in people, not things. Be better, do better. But you're really applying accountability. So you're not just making promises about things that you're going to bring to the district, but then they never come to light, like internet, broadband. We still have issues there. I found that firsthand just from my business because we would send providers to patients' homes to heal them. And we would really, this was really to attack rural healthcare access. And that's why I moved up to Boy in the first place. It wasn't to run for office, it was actually to help rural healthcare. And that's why I care about this place so much that when I got here, I saw all these issues that were somewhat left behind. There was things that were good, that were positive in Marquette and Traverse City, but there was other areas that were really that had been forgotten, like East Jordan. There's areas that really need help. And I think when you look at those areas that you can use your spear, just like delegates do when they spear they call it spider webbing. They'll go out and spider web for votes and they'll have other people that they get that information out and they talk about why they're supporting that candidate. Same thing is true with investors, is that I go out and spider web with my access for Congress because in DC you have more power. So with the investors to come back into our district. So you're using that influence to get projects maybe stopped that were delayed in red tape. So you're applying policies like from a business side that you're actuating things that actually benefit the community. And then those are short-term policy fixes. And then you want to go for your long-term where your appropriations, where you're incentivizing healthcare to make it so providers are competing to come up to this market because they'll get paid more to come to Traverse City, let's say, than Grand Rapids, because we're in a critical need and we can do that in Congress. That's something I can do. And that's what I plan on doing. So
Yeah.
really that's really where I know it's a long answer, but I'm really excited about this opportunity because I see so many things that this district needs. And I really feel that with the right person in place that, you can get the people behind you that support you, but know that you're really fighting for them and not yourself.
Yeah. And yeah, that's interesting policy. And I guess just my next question is, I mean, I know this is a three-horse race at this point with Bergman and Michal. I guess just what makes you different from those two gentlemen?
Yeah. Again, I would say that I have roots in the UP and in Boeing, so I can bring that bridge, so to say, to the whole district and unite us. The other thing is I'm coming from the mindset differently. Both those other candidates look at leadership top down because that's how they were brought up. I look at it differently because I look at the solution and work backwards. So I'll think about 16 different outcomes and move which one works best with the less adverse events, so to say, but the best side effects. Where I say that where you have voters complaining, that they're going to be upset about this issue because it really wasn't addressing their needs. So you're really focusing in on them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And then I would say another thing that would make me different is just that I'm going to do politics differently. I'm going to be here present, transparent, listening, really active in the community and doing events that are for the community and not for me specifically, just to help the district's revenue, jobs, and the kids get purpose. And that's what I've seen out in the trail right now. I can tell you, we just did a parade out in Houghton Hancock for the Bridge Fest, and there was 10,000 people there. And I can tell you firsthand experience that our message is working, that there was tons of people that were resonating to me. And for the first time, I had something that happened to me that never happened in politics. Kids were actually asking to take my picture with them. These are the youths. These are the college kids. So if my message is resonating with them, they see hope that they can stay there, that there's going to be jobs, there's going to be progress. But that's what made me excited, is to know that that message is getting out. People were waving me over with children. There was like, Matt DenOtter, thank you for running. They knew who I was just by looking at my face. So that means that our ad campaign is working. And I think that's really what makes me different than, let's say, a Justin Michal who doesn't have any funds right now to run a race. He really just got on because he got his signatures. Jack is the incumbent. He's been here, but he's really focused on the VA, and there's a lot of areas that have been left behind. So why I'm different is that I think I'm going to fill the void that's been left, where we've been left behind, and fill that void with execution, and we're going to get things done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It'll be a fun race, and I know, obviously we're the biggest district this side of the Mississippi. How have you been able to tackle it? I
Yeah,
know that's a challenge.
we got to have a team. And I believe that because it's not about me. It's about us. It's about the people that live here, the constituents. But literally our volunteer base, our grassroots, getting the campaign out, knocking doors, mailers, just going out to events and having people there present to spread the word. And that's why I have a good team. I believe that because I self-funded, I don't have to go to DC and take their people to get reelected. I can bring my people that were from my business that can help me execute policy, but also achieve goals because we're going to be goal oriented.
Yeah. Yeah, and just I know a few minutes ago you mentioned data centers, and I just kind of wanted to get your viewpoint on data centers right now. I know obviously we're in the Great Lakes state, so they're knocking at the door, and they're downstate, man.
Yeah,
They're all over the place. I'm from just
yeah,
near that Saline location, and boy, that's a battle there. And I guess just what's your view on it? And I guess anything at the Congress level that you would do
yeah.
or support.
Yeah, right now I'm not supporting data centers just because I don't know enough about them, and I don't think anyone really does, to be honest. I think that, I think for our area, out of caution, just because of where we are, I think we could change things that would be more important to me would be like nuclear. I think that's what the UP needs is a nuclear plant because nuclear energy has gotten so much cleaner, and there's other ways to do this without putting our resources at risk because of the unknown. And whenever I'm functioning in the unknown, I use caution because I'm conservative.
Yeah, that's interesting, and it'll be interesting to see if the hype pays off for him or not. It's just interesting
Yeah.
to see how it goes down, especially in my profession. You got to kind of learn about it. You got to play around with it yourself, and it's good in some aspects. It's not so good
Yeah.
in others. I'm not a coder, so I don't really know how that
Yeah.
works, but it's just
I,
it's just interesting from my point of view. So thank you for explaining that.
yeah. I think for an industry, I would really want to go back to healthcare because
Mhm.
we were, if you remember, when I started my career in the UP, we were one of the gold standards for healthcare. Now it's a desert. All those providers are gone. I want to return that to where we were a center, and then there was lots of high-paying jobs and lots of jobs for kids to stay here when that was true. So I think that's achievable again. I don't think it's out of the box, but that also is environmental friendly. I want to really attack things that I know that are safe, that do work, just like community events where we're supporting small business, getting A-listers to come up here and do events just to help tourism, but to give that influx of revenue that this community so desirably it needs, desperately needs.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I guess just a question off the top of my head. I mean, what's your viewpoint on Medicaid and Medicare and those just entitlement? Well,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be entitlement programs. That would be like Social Security, not Medicaid, Medicare, correct?
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
lot of
Yeah.
fixes that
Yeah.
can be done with the healthcare system that just have to be done in the finances. They found a lot
Mhm.
of fraud. There's money to be moved over. Where I want to move that money is specifically to the patient and the provider. Where I would want to do the reform is just with the advantage plans. Right now, I think that with Medicare, how it works, their goals are paid differently. So Medicare functions differently, and then it asks Medicare plans to like Humana or Priority Health, it could be anybody, that they ask them to manage those plans. But what happens is they end up delaying care on accident because they're paid up front. Then you're prior authing and then they're stopping care. So on the provider side, you're battling that because we were in wound care and that was something where if somebody had a wound too long, they could get septic and die. Because let's say they had a wound that it was leaking, fecal matter, which can happen. And that's where you really have to battle it. And you're on a timeline on the clock. So it's not just that, it's mental health. It's all these other issues that have been left behind that we can really address and incentivize that correctly. And that is done through the power of the purse. Honestly, it is. That's the only act that can really do it. That's part of the reason why I'm running because I had this 25 years healthcare experience. I want to apply my knowledge to specifically what I know that can do quick fixes that can create competitive markets and drive demand for those jobs.
Yeah, that's interesting, and thank you for kind of explaining that. I didn't know. I researched a little bit, but about your healthcare side, so I think that's interesting. And so I guess just onto the next thing here. So Bergman, he voted to approve FISA, the renewing surveillance powers under FISA, without a warrant. He passed that last month. I know it's still going through the Senate, and there's still some things going on with it. But do you support that measure?
I have not looked into it right now, so I want to do that before I answer anything on it because I don't want to say it unless I know it. Because we've been so busy, I want to
Yeah,
be honest.
yeah.
I
No, I get what
haven't
you're
caught
saying.
up exactly what he's doing currently, but I will look into it and I'll get back to you on that.
Appreciate it. That is definitely one of the biggest questions I get from my people, and then obviously
No,
I
it's a
think
good
one that
it's a very good question, and I will get an answer to you because
yeah,
I
yeah, no,
want to,
I
especially if people are asking about it. It's something that I do need to know.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And then just in terms of Congress, we haven't voted for a war, a proper war, I guess, since 1940, 45 or 42, since
Yeah.
World War II. Do you think Congress should be voting on wars? I guess first of all, let me phrase that. Do you think Congress should still, vote on wars? And do you think that some of these wars, like including the one that's going on, that hopefully knock on wood stays off the plate here, should those be voted on instead of just incursions?
Yes, I think that, let me explain this too. So I think it was really when troops are on the ground, when boots hit the ground, Congress needs to be involved. And that's how I see it. Because when our boys are at stake and those lives are at stake, yes, I want the Constitution upheld. I want the process to work because all the voters do that we represent have a voice and they want to be heard. So I want to be able to get their opinion. I think they're most likely like me, where you want to use caution, when these things, because they do make people uncomfortable, and you can see that there's a lot of unintended consequences that happen when these things happen, and just like the price of gas drove up, right? Those are the things that really made everybody uncomfortable. So, but it's the whole thing is that I do believe that Congress should be involved. I agree with that 100%. That's why I'm going. But it's really to work with the president and support the president. That's what you're doing. I mean, you're also trying to make the district smaller because you don't want the world being chased at this big level when we have everything here on our district level. And that's really where my job is that I'm the quarterback for these issues here. I've got 5 solid bipartisan issues here that we can work on for those first 2 years that I know that we can deliver results on. And my goal is to unite the district as Northern Michiganders so that we can come together, parking lot or social issues, so to say, so that we can then unite first, then go and attack those. But we can't attack them because by nature they're divisive. So if I say, hey, let's go unite on a divisive thing, that will never happen. So let's get united first. Then we can deal with those issues because there's so much that we have in common why we're up here. We're up here because we don't want to be downstate. We're up here because we know we can feel the difference. We can feel it. It's something we know when we're here, why we love it so much more than down there. That's what we want to unite around because we all want to protect this place. We all have, we all care about this place the same. And that's how I think we can unite us. And I'm excited to be able to do that and especially go out to the youth because I don't think what I saw out there, I'm telling you right now, it was astounding. I was surprised because I never expected it because I don't think of myself as that great. Like, why would they want my picture? So that I thought, okay, this is an opportunity that this message is resonating. This is awesome because they can have a voice again.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I know that the youth vote, especially in my area, we're probably the highest per capita vote in the district. We're the oldest county in the district as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So which provides
We're an aging.
some.
I'm glad you said that because we're an aging district where healthcare is so critical right now. I mean, the people are having to drive an hour and a half and then drive an hour and a half back. That's too long. And because Congress has, if you knew, like, because I know healthcare, there are critical need measures that you can have introduced that can stimulate these price increases for our area right away. So I could drive it. It wouldn't take that long. So to actuate it, but then you'd have to fill it in because right now what they do is they have providers come into Traverse City or Marquette that are just taking a 2 year tour of duty. So they come in and they're just Band-Aid fixes. They're not really fixing the whole problem.
Yeah, and I guess I mean, just to kind of go to that point, about band-aids and stuff like that. You did run in 2022, and you moved up here, and some of the questions I kind of get is, I know you have background in Northern Michigan. That's what I try to tell people. when they try to assert those things. But
Hmm.
answer that question. You moved up from downstate.
Yeah,
Raced in 2022, and why'd you come back here and give it a shot here?
yeah, it really wasn't. Politics isn't what drove us up here. My wife and I and my daughter, we fell in love with the area, so we moved up here. We bought a house up here, and then what happened was I found the market. There was no wound care up here, zero. So there wasn't a clinic. The hospitals weren't treating. We brought providers. We had 13 go to people's homes. That's why I moved up here. But what happened was I made some prayers, and those prayers got answered. And eventually I asked him to change my circumstance, and he did in 30 days. And then all of a sudden we were running in a race that I didn't expect. So just like the voter, they're surprised just as much as I was that I'm actually running. But once I got in, I couldn't tell you how excited I am and how much fulfilling it is to know that this is a community that really deserves representation from somebody that actually does live here. And that's why I'm running, because I do live here. I think it's important because the weather here is so different. Our needs are so different. Just like from the UP, like, the Porkies to the Houghton needs a new bridge to a new prison. Gaylord just had Saab buy all those access lands for the trails. There's lots of issues that are going on in the district. You just need someone who's present and listening, because they're going to know how vast and different the 36 counties are and how these issues really vary. That's why it's so important that you live here. Um, and that's how you get to know the pulse, because you're there with them and you're living through it. And that's why I'm running. It has, uh, because I ran before, I really didn't want to run again. This was a prayer. It was more of a Nineveh moment where I was like, didn't want to go because I loved what I was doing. I was like, this is great. It's just that the reimbursements changed, and all of a sudden now it's going to take an act of Congress for you to be able to send providers to people's homes. So to do that, what I was doing really doesn't work anymore. So that really set up the avenue, which answered my prayer. And I said, you know what? I could either retire, or I could, because I was financially stable enough to just be done. And instead, my wife and I decided to self-fund the race. And now that we're in, it's nice because we're in a financial position. I can take my family with me. I mean, it's very important in Congress. You're 150 to 160 days in DC. That's a long time to be away from a 10-year-old and your wife. So to be able to be in this position, to be able to run and do it right, I'm able to bring the right team with me. I can bring my wife to DC with me. It just kind of aligned all the things that you would want when you were like self-evaluating, is this good for me and my family? They really came together. And then now that we're here, the message is resonating and it's getting out. And everywhere I go, people are excited. They're excited that someone cares.
Interesting. And I know it's going to be a heck of a couple months here. We hope you get some sort of rest, but I know there's not much rest to be had here. So I guess
Well,
as we
because we started late, we were running so fast. But I will tell you this. This is how I know it's working. You know about website hits, right? We're
yeah.
getting over 850 new unique visits per day on our website hits. We've already eclipsed over 60,000 unique visits to our website. I've already reached enough voters, so to say, that to take the win, but you need to reach 120,000 to 240,000. So we're attacking it with mail, with ads and everything. We really are going to have a team approach. And then once we get in there, we're going to continue that team approach and run it like a business and let the people know that they really have a voice. And this is somebody that's running for them, from them, truly. And he's not saying it. He means it and lives it.
Yeah, and I know you're a busy man, and I hope we can have more conversations like this down the road. But I guess just a
We
couple
will.
minutes as your closing pitch, and any of the other thing.
Yeah.
I know we missed a bunch, but and I hope we can talk again. But I just kind of just your closing statement, just for the voters out here in Leelanau, I suppose.
Yes. No, no, I'm listening to your needs. I've heard about what's going on with the solar farm. I'm very aware of what's happening in the area. I'm meeting with small business in your area to grow your community, find jobs that will help keep the kids here. And that's really why I want their vote, is just to let them know that they're voting for someone that's going to actually fight for them, represent them, is a conservative and is going to fight to unite. And I'm going to be able to listen because I'm a person that's coming from faith, and I want to make that important because people always ask me, they say, how can you be a Christian and be a politician? And then I ask them, how can you face adversity without faith? how can you persevere? Because really, starting a business, if you apply what you learned in business to politics, you'll understand that those things correlate. And that's how you thrive. And that's how you can succeed, even when it looks like it's not possible. So I'm hoping to get their vote and excited for the movement. Check out our website, DenOtterforMichigan.com. Honestly, go look at that website. We've done 12 commercials. There's lots of stuff on our policy. There's lots of information. So I really want you to get out there and see our message. And if you're excited about it, please, volunteer, support us. I don't need your money. I need your vote. And that's what I need.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Matthew DenOtter, and we wish you the best of luck and hope
All
to talk
right.
to you soon. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
All right.
appreciate
Have
it.
a good
Take
day.
care.
Thank you.
Again, have a good one.
Yes. I look forward to more calls because I want
Yeah.
to be that candidate that's always available.
Yeah. What I try to do, I'm gonna have this out because I have three, and I'm gonna I'm doing everybody, so I have three. I'm gonna probably release my first three, which includes you, either tomorrow or Thursday, and then next
Sweet.
week for the next round, and then hopefully, I want to get everybody twice is my goal,
Yeah.
and if when we get close to it, I'm sure it'll get crazy. So I just appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the time and everything and the chance just to get to know you. Honestly,
Okay.
because it's really, I want to change things, do politics differently. I don't like the old rules, like, because, you said you ran before. I didn't like how it was run. I want to do it differently where you're just more transparent because if people know the problems, we can all work together on the solutions.
Exactly. Heck yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
wish you the best luck. You ever in Traverse City or Leelanau, let us know. All right.
All right. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You
Have
have
a
a good
good
one.
one. Yeah.
Yep. Bye.